per acre divided by 56 is 369 bushels per acre. Good morning. We're back for another day. We did have that little bit of rain last night. Ended up with, I think, 1,800, so a little less than 2/10 on top of the 1,500s, 2/10, whatever it was that we got on Monday, I believe it was. So it's getting there. We've almost gotten a ½ inch. It'll help the weed out, that's for sure. However, it is not enough to keep us out of the fields with this today. So we're going to go head back to the field where Dad quit when he had that bearing go out yesterday. Keep working. He said there's probably about 4 hours worth of work left over there. We do have other fields that can be done. Well, it can't be done yet, but they're getting close to being able to be done. We just got to get the fertilizer spread on them, which I've been working on getting lined up. So hopefully that'll happen quickly here, but we will see. So we'll work on this for a while. Dad will probably come take over around lunchtime again, like he did yesterday, and we'll find something else to do this afternoon. All right, let's get our auto steer turned on here. And off we go. See how slippery it is today. All right, keep moving. Dad did get a fair amount done. We were over by the woods when he took over for me, so we've got to get from here over to, well, the horse pasture over there. There's a fair amount to do yet. It's a little rough back here. We got all those tile lines right there, right there. So we're kind of bouncing across them a little bit, but it'll be okay. We'll get her leveled up good. Problem is, it's still going to settle some more over winter, so we're going to feel them again in the spring. The field cultivator will help. We're going to feel them in the planter. We're going to feel them when we're combining the corn next year. And then we'll probably end up ripping these corn stalks up and staying ahead of it. From that standpoint, just trying to keep it leveled up. After about the second year after we've tiled, then it's usually pretty good and we don't get it settling anymore. So, oh well. Benefits outweigh the negative. Is that a negative? It's rough. It'll be okay. Okay, well, I'm done bouncing over the tile lines back here. There's that waterway that Dad put in. I'm kind of getting around that. This one looks better. Although I did see Dad went and got himself some fertilizer to spread on them to make them grow. Anyway, unfortunately now I get to bounce over the tile lines that are on that end of the field. I'll show you when we get back up there. But yeah, going pretty well. We're getting closer. See that tree? That's where we got to get to. I think, let's see here. Yeah, so we've got 73-ish acres done, and it says we've got 68 to go. We do not actually have 68 to go because you see those green, darker green cover crops over there, and there's some more back over there. That's already been done. Those two pieces of this field were prevent plant last year, so they got the oats and radish cover crop seeded here a month ago. And this side where we're at now got the clover, so we don't have to do that. There's about 40 acres there, which means of that 68 that's left, we've only got about 28 to actually go. So we're getting there. Here's all the other tile lines running across the rows up in this front corner. It's not terrible, but it is pretty rough. My relief driver is here. Not too much left, basically down to the wedge, or just a little bit more than that, I guess. What's the acres say? It says we got 56 left, but we got 40 of that done, like I said. So about 16 acres. Take them an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours with all the end rows to do. Good deal. Guess the wind was sort of severe yesterday. Ugh. Blew my sign over. Blew the stakes right over. I don't know if it bent them or what, but I have to come off to get it out. Yeah, bent them right over. My goodness. Wow. Yeah, Oh well, we were about done with it anyway. My bean plot is pretty well ready to run. As soon as it dries out and we get the decent weather that we need, we're going to finish combining the field that we're in. And then there's one more that we've got going to wheat that's got to get done. And we'll be heading over this way. So hopefully, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we'll work on getting this bean plot combined. You can really see the difference in some of these varieties. The height differences, the color variation. We've got gray beans, we've got brown, we've got tan, tawny, they call that light one down there on the other side. So lots of different stuff here. Gonna have some really good information. I'm excited to be able to run these off and see how everything compares. So things look pretty good. Corn plot will be a little while yet, probably 2 or 3 weeks at least before we get into that. It's gonna be a while before we really do any corn around here. So those used to be straight. I don't know if I should be disappointed in the quality of the metal or super impressed with the plastic on that sign that it didn't break that and it bent those stakes. I mean, them are not small. Those are probably 3/4 inch at least. I don't know. Oh well, they're straightenable. Okay, well, Dad's gonna finish over there, so that's good. I don't know what else is going on. I don't think we're gonna be able to combine today, although we could go look later, but I'm not planning on that. I do have a couple of errands that I need to run, go get something to eat. I gotta pick up a suit from the dry cleaner for the wedding I've got on Saturday, so I think I'm gonna run do those things. Check in with you guys when I get back. Well, I would say we are not gonna get much rain and we are not gonna be combining soybeans today. Widely scattered. Random showers that pop up like the one that is going through. Yeah, it's raining. Once this passes, I was thinking I might go out and try and pull some corn ears and take a look at some of that, but we'll see if we get a window or not. Dad did get done chiseling while I was gone. Tractor is out there somewhere. Yeah, you can see it on the other side of my truck. Anyway, so we're caught up with the chiseling for right now. We've got one more wheat field. Yeah, I guess we could go and chisel that one. Fertilizer's already done, spread there. We put the chicken litter on. So that one is done, but we do have 2 bean fields that we've already got combined that are ready to be chiseled. We just need the fertilizer spread and lime spread on one of them as well. So I got that stuff all lined up here this morning. Hopefully they will get that stuff spread, weather dependent, soon, and we can go and get that stuff all done too, because we need to keep the chisel moving. We've got probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 2,000 acres that's going to need to be ripped up between now and when the ground freezes. So we'd like to keep that moving. So since I can't do much outside and we can't combine and we can't go chisel because it's raining now, I think I'm going to work on this for a little bit. It's the first real chance I've had to do anything. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tear some stuff apart. I think we're going to remove the fuel tank, maybe work on the radiator. I don't know. We'll see what I feel like doing, but we're going to take a little bit of stuff apart. All right. Well, I think that's as far as I'm going to go here. I did take some of this stuff off, but this piece has got to come off to get the manifold off. I guess that's an intake and an exhaust manifold. But I kind of want Jack to help me with this and be around while I'm taking stuff apart so he can guide me a little bit. So I'm going to call her there. But it stopped raining. We're going to go do some yield checks in some corn. So let's grab the gator and head out. That is the cleanest my gator windshield has been all summer. Somebody was doing a little cleaning for me. Thanks, Dad. Okay, so we're going to go out here in this cornfield. This is the second cornfield that we planted. I believe it was April 24th. It is 109-day corn, 09A86. And this is a pretty good farm. I expect this to be some of our better corn. So we're going to see what it looks like. And I'm going to show you how to do yield checks. We're going to do a couple of different methods with the same spot, same ears or whatever. And get a pretty good idea of what this corn's going to look like. We'll see how close our methods are, and then we'll try and remember it and compare it to what the combine says. So we're going to walk through here. We're going to find a spot that we want to check. You're looking for average. Find the average spot that's the middle of the whole farm. Pretty hard to do. Really, we should do this in 5 different places throughout the field, and then average all of them. So we got a few broken stalks. I think that's from the rain yesterday, or the wind. Could be. Let's see here. There's a way to sort of see where your stalk integrity is. You can pinch them, and if you can collapse the stalk, especially if they break over, kind of like that, you might have some standability issues. That one's solid. They're not. Yeah, some of them. This one. Yeah. We're gonna want to get this corn sooner rather than later. So, all right, we're gonna pick this spot right here, though, and here's what we're gonna do. So I brought a tape measure, and we need to measure out 1/1000th of an acre. We're going to calculate the yield for that 1/1000th of an acre, extrapolate from there. So in 30-inch rows, 1/1000th of an acre is 17 feet 5 inches. Right there, from the end of our tape measure. So what we're going to do is count from 17 feet 5 inches to the end of our tape measure how many harvestable ears they are. And so we're going to look at these plants and say harvestable ear or not. And then we'll count that number up. And I'm actually going to do both these 2 rows. So we really have 2 1/1000ths of an acre. And it just gives me a little bit more representative sample rather than just counting 1 row. So let's do that first. Is count how many ears. Okay, so the reason that we counted 2 rows is because these were very different. This side had 34 harvestable ears. This side only had 29, and you can see we've got some gaps. We also had somewhere, this stalk here doesn't have an ear on it. This ear I did not count because it's not really harvestable. There's a couple of kernels on it, but not enough to count. There was another one. This one here I don't think I counted. So we lost some stalks on that side, where this one here, I don't think there was any that didn't have an ear. There is a skip there. There was this one stalk back here towards the beginning. That's not a very good ear, but it has another one down here, so I counted it because it's 2 halves, basically. So, all right, so after that, we're going to pick 5 random ears. And some people will go in and they'll pick like every 5th ear or certain numbers in every spot. They'll pick the same ones. I kind of just walk through and grab, and the idea is to be random and representative and not just do biasedly pick the biggest ears out there, because that doesn't do you any good. So I'm going to pick some ears and we'll go from there. Okay, I've got my 5 ears. So we've got our population counts, 29 and 34. Now everything else we can do back out at the gator and take our tape measure with us. All right, so now that we have our 5 representative ears here, we're going to shuck them back and count some kernels and do some math. All right, so these ears here are none too impressive, but nonetheless, it is what it is. That's what happens from the dry weather that we had this summer. So now what we need to do is count the kernels on each ear. We're going to do that by counting how many long each a row is and how many rows around there are. And we're going to make notes of those on my paper here. We're going to write that down until we got all 5 of them counted. Oop. Okay, so here's what we had for ears. We had a 31 by 18, 32 by 16, 28 by 18, 33 by 16, and a 35 by 16. So we'll do the math from there, figure out how many kernels was on each one of those ears, and then we know our population, right? So we counted the ears, and we had a 34 and a 29. So if we average those out, we come up with 31 and a half. I think that's right. Okay, so it was 31 and a half was our average population, 31,500, because it was 31.5 ears per 1/1000th of an acre. So times 1,000 is 31,500 harvestable ears per acre. I multiplied out the kernels per ear on all of those and took an average. We average 532.4 kernels per ear. Now, if we take 532 times 31.5, we get our kernels per acre, basically, or kernels per 1/1000th of an acre. So that is equal to 16,770. Now, what we have to do is figure out how many kernels are in a bushel. and we're going to guess for right now because I don't have a scale to be able to weigh them with me. Typically, I would use a number of 90,000. So I would figure there are 90,000 kernels of corn per 56 pounds, which is what 1 bushel is. So we will take this number and divide it by 90. And we're dividing by 90 because this is 1/1000th of an acre, so instead of 90,000, we just divide by 90. We could have multiplied this 532 times 31,500 and then divided by 90,000, or you can multiply it by 31.5 and just divide by 90. Same thing. So when I do that, we come up with this number, 186.34. That's what that corn should yield according to this method of calculating yields. Actually, I don't feel too bad about that. I think that's probably pretty close. These ears are not great, but there are a fair number of them. I mean, 31.5 is not great. The 34,000 on the one side was good. The 29 was not. So who knows? You know, like I said, you should do this in 5 places around the different areas of the field to really get a representative sample. We may go do one more on the other side, but I'm not doing 5 of them. We're going to go do some other fields as well. And the other factor is, what is your kernel size? Are there really 90,000 kernels per bushel, or are there 100,000 kernels per bushel, in which case our yield is lower? Or are there 70,000 or 75,000 kernels per bushel, in which case the yield is higher? Those are the variables that are really hard to account for. So what we are going to do, save these ears. We're going to try and keep them separate from all the rest of them that we're going to go pick. And then we will take them back and shuck them off the cobs and weigh them. And we can weigh them, and then we can do an extrapolation using actual weight instead of just kernel counts. We could figure out how many kernels per bushel, or we could just weigh it and say, well, there's this many pounds per 5 ears times this many ears per acre divided by 56. Corrected for the moisture, we'll do a moisture sample as well, and that'll give us our bushels per acre as well. So we'll do it that way, see how close it comes to 186. That'll help us figure out what that kernel size is and maybe be a little bit more accurate. So but that's a good start. So we're going to drive back out and around and go off the road on the far end of this field, find another spot, and pick another 5 ears, do another count, and see what we come up with down there. All right, well, let's walk out here a ways. You'll notice this trail here with run over corn. That's from when we sprayed fungicide on this corn with the Haggy. This was the field that I was riding with him in. And when you go through the end rows, you run stuff over. No way around it. But we'll walk out here a little ways and see what we get for ears and population in this spot in the field. Looks like it's standing a little better down here for whatever reason. So this time I got 31 and 34. So our average is going to be 32.5. Now let's go pick some random ears. 1, 2, 3. I like to pick some that are up and some that are down just from even moisture. 4, 5. Okay. I can already tell you that this stuff looks better here. I'll be surprised if our calculation does not say over 200 bushels when we get out, but we'll see, won't we? Well, there's a little more variation in these ears. You can see we've got 3 that are sort of small and 2 that are really nice. It'd be interesting to see once we count these up. Wow, so on our first sample, this is the first one, we had 532.4 kernels per ear average, 533.2, less than 1 kernel difference. But we did have 32.5 average ears, or harvestable ears, instead of 31.5, so that will make a difference. So let me finish the math. Well, not 200, but 192.5, so a little bit better. So, all right, we're going to take these ears back before we go to another field. We're going to hand shell them. We're going to do the different method of yield check and see how they compare. So, now we need to shell all these ears. I brought the second 5 ears in. We're going to shell them, and then we're going to weigh them, and we're going to take a moisture test. Well, I'd call it a half a gallon. All right, so now let's get my scale out, which is it down here, up here, somewhere, down here maybe. There we go. The old triple beam balance, old school. We used to use this thing out in the grain shed all the time. So anyway, there we've got it zeroed out, and we are going to dump all this corn in there, and we're going to figure out how much it weighs. In grams, no less. We almost had to split this in two, so we're going to hang a kilo on the end here and hope that our slide works for the rest. Okay, good deal. Less than 1,100 grams. $1,030. One. 1,031 grams. Okay, time to do some more math. So 1,031 grams equals pretty close to 2.27 pounds. So we're going to take 2.27, divide that by 5 to give us our average pounds per ear. Then we're going to multiply it by 32.5. Okay, well, maybe good news, maybe not. I don't really know yet. But 2.27 divided by 5 is 0.454 pounds per ear average. Multiply that by 32,500 and we come up with 14,755 pounds of corn per acre. Divided by 56 pounds in a bushel gives us 263.48. That number is a lot bigger than that number. Here's the problem though. That corn is wet. Those are wet bushels, not dry bushels. So we need to figure out the moisture of that corn and correct it back to 15.5% moisture. So in order to do that, we've got to take it out to our moisture tester. But before we go out to the moisture tester and do that, we're going to get the other 5 ears and shell them and get to this point on that one as well. Okay, we've got this one all shelled. Let's weigh it up. I feel like it fit in there easier than the last one. Okay, are we under or under a kilo? I have to get the 500er out though, aren't I? Hang on. Okay, so we've got a smaller weight hanging there. That's the 500er. 7, 8. Okay, so it's under 900. Under 830, under 820, 815, 816, 816 grams. Quite a bit under a kilo. All right, we'll do some more math. Okay, well, that one worked out. It was 1.8 pounds divided by 5 was 0.36 per ear times 31.5 was 11,340 pounds per acre, or 202.5 wet bushels, which is substantially less than the 263 on that sample. The question is, what's the moisture? If they're the same, there's a huge difference. If this one's drier, there may not be as much of a difference as you think. But we gotta take them out to the grain shed and we'll go test them. All right, I'm waiting for the moisture tester to power up. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna show you this briefly here. I have in my spreadsheets that we keep our records in a formula that converts wet weight into dry bushels. The formula looks like this. Basically what we're doing is taking the wet weight, and if it's over 15.5, we're putting in a conversion factor to take the moisture, the excess water weight out of it with this, factor. It's a formula that I got and have developed with somebody from Michigan State that had used it in some of their stuff, and it works. But basically, so what I did here is I put the weight per acre of our two samples in, the 11,340 and the 14,755, and then once we get a moisture on it, we'll come over here, type that in, and let's just say it's 20%, and it will convert out our bushels per acre. So as soon as this is ready, we'll run sample 1 through. Okay, Okay, so we are going to analyze corn. Dump our corn in the top here. And we hit the button. Drawer is empty. We'll dump it and wait for it to give us a result. Whew, she's still a little wet. 28.3. So we come over here, type in 28.3, 171.8. That's on the one that we tested, kernel counted at 186. So what that tells me is that our kernel size is small, and they're a little bit on the light side. We're not getting 90,000 kernels per bushel. We're closer to 100,000 or whatever. I could do the math and figure it out, but that's what it tells me. So hopefully, as it dries down, the kernel weights will, well, you're not going to, your test weight will get better. You're really not going to pick up more bushels at this point, though. All right, so now we're going to run our second sample through. This is the one that kernel counted at 192 and was 263 wet. So we'll see what the moisture is on it and figure that out. And just to be clear on that 171.8, I'm not upset by 172 if that's what our corn actually yields. Like, that's right in the range of what I'm expecting. So it is what it is, but that's not horrible. Ooh, this one's even drier. That's good. That means it's better yielding by quite a bit. So we're going to go down to line 2, type in 25.1, 233. That's better than the 192. So this one, the kernel size is much bigger. And to be honest, if you look at these two samples, you can see that. This sample is a lot cleaner and big kernels compared to this one that has a lot of smaller kernels, and there's some crappy ones that don't, they're a little moldy and stuff. So I'm not surprised by that result. Also shows you the variation and why you got to take multiple samples through the field. So now I could average those two out and say, well, that'd be pretty darn close to 200, about 202. I don't think that field's going to go 202, but you never know. And so we'll see what we end up with. But those are both promising, good numbers. 25 is not terrible on moisture. It'll dry down some between now and when we get to it. So we should be looking at 20% corn or so. But yeah, that's what we got. That's how we estimate corn yields. As you can tell, it's a science, but it's not an exact science. There's a lot of guessing to it and a lot of variables. And it's really hard to pin it down until the combines roll through it. So basically, we got numbers anywhere from 171 bushels to 233 bushels, and our hand count numbers were both in between that. So that's a 60 bushel spread, and what the potential yield on that field is, or at least in those two spots. And you know, our numbers, like that second sample was 40 bushel difference between the hand count and the weight count. The weight should be more accurate than the hand count, so that's encouraging. That one's better. But on the first sample, it was 15 bushel less doing the weight method than the hand count. Who knows? Who knows where it will end up? But if you have any questions on this process or comments on that, leave them down below and I'll try and answer them. One thing you will notice, test weight did not play a role in any of that yield calculation. And that is because test weight and yield are completely unrelated, have nothing to do with each other. Now, that said, I want it to be good test weight. This one was 52.1. That's not great, but it's not terrible. Corn is heavier when it's drier. There's less weight in it, water weight in it, and the corn, the starch, is denser than the water. And so as you bring corn down towards 15% moisture, the test weight goes up, and it gets to be better quality. So I'm not surprised that 25, 28% corn are not very good test weight. That doesn't surprise me at all. Anyway, I am going to run up, well, what time is it? It's 5:20. Yeah, I'm going to go look at 2 more fields, I think. I'm going to see if I can't get up and pull at least one sample out of our irrigated field. Just because we can get a weight sample now, and it should be fairly accurate. I think that corn's black layered, so let's go see what we get up there. And we've even got the same exact variety up there, so it'll be a pretty good comparison of what our water did for us. Okay, I'm up here in our irrigated field, and I just counted and pulled some ears. Our population, surprisingly, in this spot is only 31.5 harvestable ears. I planted this thicker, so I expected it to be a little higher than that. But these ears, I can already tell you, are much bigger than what we were just in. This is that exact same hybrid as what we were just in that other field. Only difference is this one got watered all summer. I am just going to take these back to the farm and husk them. So we're going to drive down here. I've got a different variety out this way. We'll stop somewhere, grab some more ears of this variety and do a count. All right, well, the ears there aren't super impressive, but there was a lot more of them. My 2 rows, I counted 35 and 37, which means there's an average of 36,000 of those per acre. That is a good thing. That's going to be really good corn. So we'll take these 2 back. I'm going to stop at one other field, mostly because I want to see how dry it is. Some earlier maturing corn that was planted early. That may be some of the first stuff we harvest. So well, let's go. Here's that other field I wanted to look at. Judging by what I'm seeing trying to walk through the end rows, we better get to this one early. That, right there. Bend test. When you push on these stalks and they break over, that is not a good thing. So, yeah. Let me get out of these ends here. So another effect of the dry weather is that when the corn plants are stressed, especially when they're trying to fill these ears out, which these ears look nice here, they will cannibalize themselves, the plants will, in order to protect their offspring, the seeds, the kernels. And so what ended up happening is the bottom leaves die off and turn brown, and then it keeps working its way up the plant, and eventually it starts pulling nutrients out of the stalk in order to fill out that ear, which is fine. The problem is, then the stalks get weak, and you start getting these ones that lean over, breaking off. Not so bad here, but like this one's leaning. You do not want broken stalks. Makes it very difficult to combine. It might not be as bad as the ends were, but there was a lot of them that were bent. There's one broke. It's not terrible out here, but we don't want to let this stuff stand until October, or end of October, November, December, that's for sure. All right, I got my ears, I counted. We had 30 on both sides, so we're right at 30,000 harvestable ears out here. And we'll take them back, get a moisture sample, weigh them up, do all that. All right, provided this corn is done growing, meaning it's black layered, it's not going to add any more weight to it, which means that weighing the kernels and taking moisture is a far more accurate method than counting kernels. So I'm not going to bother counting kernels. We're just going to weigh them. Oh, one other thing I did find when I was peeling the husks off of this ear. You see that? You see that white stuff? We got a little ear mold starting. That's not a good sign. It was the only one I found in this variety. The only one I found overall. We'll see when I husk the rest of those. But I think that's diplodia ear rot. And it's caused from moisture inside the ear. The husks are on there sort of tight and they don't dry out. It's not a good thing. Usually it's not an issue when we have a dry September. We had a dry September. So something to keep an eye on though. Especially with this hybrid. This is a new one for me. So no good there. Well, something obvious right from the get-go on this is 2 things. One, these kernels are packed on there really tight. It's hard to get the ear started. Once you get a few off, then they come a little bit easier. But these kernels are huge. Like, them first 2 that we were testing, we were saying, you know, plus or minus 90,000. These ones may be plus or minus 65,000 kernels per bushel. The fewer kernels per bushel, the more bushels you will have. That is a good thing. But yeah, these are going to add up. All right, well, my pail feels fuller. I don't know that they're going to fit in my cup here. We might have to try and zero out one of these ice cream buckets. Yeah, might be a problem. All right, I got them. I think I got them all picked up. Okay, let's weigh this one up. And keep in mind, this is the second sample that we took up there. There was 36,000 ears per acre in this hybrid. Oh boy. 1,303 grams. Oh man, guys. Okay, so this is 10D21, 36,000. 1,303 grams works out to 2.87 pounds. Divided by 5 ears is over a half a pound per ear, 0.574 pounds per ear. That is 20,664 pounds per acre. Divided by 56 is 369 bushels per acre. Wet. That's wet. And this is wet. I bet it's over 30%. But, oh boy, that's some good corn. Whew, okay, well, I just got done shelling off that first hybrid that we picked up in the irrigated field. It's 09A86. It's the same hybrid that our first 2 samples from our other field were. It shelled pretty hard. I was breaking a lot of the kernels off, almost like it's either really wet and just barely black layered, or it hasn't quite black layered yet, which I'm kind of surprised by. I would have thought it would be black layered. Some of it was. I mean, that one there clearly was black layered. But it's wet. I could literally feel the moisture squeezing out of the kernels as I was pushing them off the cob. So worse than that one, which is 110 day. So I don't know, it's wet, but there is a lot of it here. So let's weigh this one up, and then we'll go take moisture samples, and then we'll come back and do our third one that's from that other field. 1,534 grams on this one. Wow. Wow. Well, I'm surprised how the math worked out on this. Because of the lower harvestable ear count, I did not expect it to yield as much. But 1,534 grams, 3.38 pounds divided by 5 is 0.676 pounds per ear. 21,294 pounds per acre at 31,500. That's a 380.25 wet bushels. The question is, how much wetter is it, and what are the dry bushels going to calculate to? Let's go find out. 34.2 on the 109 day. That was the last one that we just did. We'll see what this, so in here, this is 110. Felt drier. 34.2 still equals 287. I will take it. I'll take it every time. Let's see what this one says. 30.7. So we're about 4 points drier. 30.7. We've got to enter in our weight, which was... Oh, wait, I messed that up. Okay, so the 20,664 goes in this line. 302. 302 is good. And I got to figure out what that weight was on the other one. It was not 20,664. It was 21,294, which makes that 296. So the lighter weight one, in terms of gross weight, actually yields better because it's 4 points drier, 3.5 points drier. But those are good numbers. Those are dang good numbers. So based on that, our irrigation is going to return about 100 bushels per acre of corn. It was worth it. Now, I may have been slightly biased in the areas of that irrigated field where I went and picked ears from. I did not go to the sand ridges. I went to some of the better low ground that I knew was going to be some of the higher yielding stuff. So I do not expect that field to average 300. But I do expect it to be pretty good, and there will be places, quite a few places, that do go over 300 bushel per acre, so that's good. So I'm going to do this one last sample. This is the 107-day corn from that last field that we stopped at. I'm really not all that curious what the yield is. I'm more curious what the moisture is on it, but we're going to go through the process here anyway. Well, this one weighed up pretty good too. Calculated out to 251 bushels per acre wet. And it's drier than those other ones, so we'll have to go get a moisture, but this might be over 200 bushel corn. Well, look at that. Right about there. Oh, So much for that being drier. 33.3. Ouch. Well, that makes it 198, which I'm still pretty darn happy with. So our 5 yield checks there. I'd be happy if they're all above the low one. Well, not all of them. The irrigated ones I won't be. But yeah, that's good. I'm happy with those. The moistures are a little wetter than I would like to see this time of year. We might have some drier stuff. In fact, I know we have some drier stuff at our farm in Berkey. But we've got a couple of weeks to get those things to dry down. We need some sunshine, and a little heat wouldn't hurt anything. All right, guys, that's it for me tonight. Hope you enjoyed that little how-to on checking corn yields. And yeah, not bad. So far so good, I guess. I hope to get back to harvesting beans sometime soon. I somehow doubt it's going to be tomorrow. So we're probably... It might be the first of the week before we get another chance, because there's more chance of rain on Sunday. So we'll see. Stay tuned for that. I will be around tomorrow morning. We'll probably get the chisel going some more and get some stuff moved around. I don't know. We'll see. I've got to leave, though, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon to head to Columbus for the wedding on Saturday. I will not be here on Saturday. And depending on the weather, we'll be back around Sunday. If we're working, I'll be here Sunday. If not, it'll be Monday. So have a great night, everybody. Questions, comments, leave them down below. Hit that like and subscribe buttons for me, please, so you don't miss any of these harvest videos. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.